What's up, guys? What's up, guys? We are back. Fitness Profit Multiplier, Anthony and Jimmy here. Today, we're going to be discussing goal setting for your fitness business. And I love this because it's so important to goal set. Goal setting is so important. But I feel like I am so much more focused on the day-to-day numbers and beating my people leaving, people holding, and just making sure I'm always ahead of that I kind of forget to set the big picture goals. And Jimmy does this every December. So I think it's good that we hop on here and set some goals. So first and foremost, before we get started, I think we should just kind of preference this by giving you guys a real life example. So for someone listening to this, we're just going to say that your business makes 250K a year. And we want to set a goal to get to around 400, as we think that that's a realistic goal for someone at that level. So the issue is that there's a lot of different levers that we can pull to get someone to that level. We could change their business model. We could change the amount of leads that they're getting in and all this other stuff. But for the general sake of this example that we're talking about today, we're just going to pretend that this person does small group personal training only. They charge a reasonable amount of money. So this way we don't have to pull that lever. And they have a 5% attrition rate at the very minimum, which is what we recommend where you should be. So, Big Jimmy, let's get this person set up. 250K a year to 400K. How do we set this goal? Where do we go from here?
So the first place I like to go with this, and every year, this tends to be what we end up doing. We predict a number, we project a number that's reasonable, and more often than not, we end up hitting it in our business. It's a great way to check and balance against what's happening, how you get there, what's going on in your business, what needs to change to get you to the point where you need to go. And within a couple of grand, we're pretty accurate with these assumptions when we do it, right? But how do we get from 250, and we could say 240 for easy math because that's 20, right, a month, but 250 a year to 400? What is that we need to do? The first step that I like to take is you take your year and you go, okay, how much did I make every month? You put it in a spreadsheet, right? Then you go next year, goal, right? And you take that 400, you amortize it over every month. So you go, okay, to make 400, I need to make whatever it is, 35 a month, something like that, to get there, right?
Yeah,
right?
33.
Okay.
33.
So you're going from like 21 or whatever it is, something like that, right, to 33, okay? So you take that year and you go, okay, I need to make 33 every month for the next year. Now, is the likelihood that high that you're going to go from a December at 21 to a January at 33? Probably not, right? You're not just going to go from one to the other. So if you're making that assumption, it looks like, oh, how the heck am I going to do that, right? It doesn't really work out that way. So what you do is you find that number and you go, okay, 35 is the goal every month. But you screw around with the numbers a little bit based upon historical data, where it's like some months are lower, some months are higher. I see a boost in this month, whatever. And you pick numbers that are going to make sense for that year and for the growth rate that you typically have. So maybe you'll start at 21 in January, and then in February, you'll be at 25. In March, you'll be at 25 again. Then you'll be at 28, right? And you kind of go through the year that way until you get to something that looks normal with the ebbs and flows of your business, with that 400 being the end result, right? So then you have targets that you're going for each month to get to where you want to go. So you can actually base that against and go, am I on track or off track for the revenue goal that I'm trying to achieve? Because typically over time, if you're doing these things, your business will grow more over time. You'll have more revenue in October than you have in February of that year, right? If you're doing all the things that you need to be doing to grow your business, typically. And we don't have some crazy thing that stops us all from doing our work, right? So that's the first step, And then you go, okay, but how? And that's where the real crunching and the brain mapping and all this stuff comes into play, where you sit down and you go, well, how am I going to add an average of $12,000 a month to my business over time? How do I do that? And you look at the levers that you're going to pull that you either haven't been pulling, you haven't been pulling well enough, making things more efficient. So you have to look at these things and how are we going to do that, right? And the way we're going to do that to set these goals, we're going to take each quarter and set the thing that we're focused on for that quarter, right? Whether it's retention, lead flow, referrals, coaching, hiring somebody new, firing somebody, right? Whatever it may be, you need to set that goal for that quarter and go, this lever is going to get me closer to X. And I'm laser focused on this lever this quarter until it gets solved. And it may be solved in 6 weeks. It may take all 12 to solve it. And you're going to use your staff to help you with these things. And then once you solve that with the plays that you're using to solve it, those plays become part of your model and they get solidified in that model at that point. And then it's just a play that you run and you have your staff run regularly. Okay. Whether it's a referral campaign that you try and works well, okay, or it's a retention strategy that you try and works well, or a retention strategy that you try and works horribly, so you don't do it again. But we look at these things quarterly over time to pull levers each quarter to get you to where you want to go. But having those numbers in front of you gives you a scoreboard to look against and go, am I moving toward where I said I wanted to be? And if you're not, you got to look inside and go, am I doing this play efficiently enough? Am I doing everything that I can to grow this? Am I trying a new lead generation strategy? Am I doing the things I need to do with my staff to get them up to where they want to go? And this goal could also be a time freedom goal, right? It could be this quarter, I need to hire another staff and train them up so I can move myself out of a sales role, or I can move myself out of a training role, or I can finally stop cleaning the gym every night, whatever it may be, right? And that's something you can set each quarter as well. So this is the way we want to look at it. We first start with the numbers, because then we're creating a goal each month, and we can backtrack that with leads, attrition rate, campaigns we're running, all this kind of stuff. So if we want to add 12,000 per month on an average, we can backtrack that to what your rate is and go from there and see how many members we have to add each month to make that happen, right? And at
This is
400
why
a
it's
month,
also so
30. Yeah.
this is why it's so important also to know your numbers. You know, we've talked about this so many times. You got to know your numbers. Gym owners are very notorious for not knowing their numbers. You got to know your numbers, because then you could run these plays. If you figure out your attrition rate's at 12%, then you got to look at the things to change that attrition rate. Or do your coaches suck? Are you highlighting your members' things? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, but then you could pull the levers on that and make those changes. And then you could see, okay, over the next quarter, did my attrition go down? Is my rate lower now? You know, and then go from there and make the adjustments accordingly.
Yeah. That's the big thing. Have those numbers first, then plan out the first quarter at least. What is my goal this first quarter of 2023? We're too late in quarter 4, guys. We got a month left. So what are we going to do in quarter 1 that we either haven't done before, we're not doing efficiently enough, or we need to change with our model, our staffing, something? What needs to happen over the next quarter? And did you hit it? Did you not hit it? How close are you? How far away are you? Check in with yourself, check in with your team weekly, monthly on this strategy, right? For 2 quarters last year, we focused on attrition rate. That was our focus for the quarter. How are we limiting attrition rate? What do we need to do? What do we need to implement? We tried everything under the sun and found that number 1 thing is coaching. Coaching cues, how people feel. That's it, right? And we found that. And now we know that that is the lever that's not being pulled efficiently enough if we're backtracking. And we know that for the rest of time, right? There's certain things that are principle based that stay with you forever once you figure them out. So to get to the place you want to be revenue wise, set the revenue numbers, set the levers that you want to pull to get to those revenue numbers, ditch the levers that don't work, keep the levers that do, and make the levers more efficient if you truly believe and know that they're not efficient enough. And sometimes you got to take a deep look inside and go, my business model sucks and I need to overhaul it. And that's maybe a 2-quarter job, right? But these are the things that you have to do to get there. I know that's a little bit vague. We have other podcasts that talk about the specific plays that you can go and listen to. If you're like, what plays do I run? Now you're listening to this, you're like, yeah, I want to get to 400. But what are the plays? What are they talking about? Plenty of episodes, guys. Go back and look through on the plays that we have for you that are built out and ready to go that you can implement right away for free. You listen to this podcast, guys. You just listen to this. You don't even have to hire us if you listen to this regularly, right? We give it all to you because we want gym owners to actually have the life that they desire in this industry and not just buy themselves a job that's really stressful, because that's what so many people in this industry do. They go from working for a big box, maybe they work themselves up to being a training manager and they're making decent money. And then they go and drop their life savings into a gym where they're making half of what they were making when they were working as a training manager. That's not what you did this for. It's not what you did this for. So anyway.
Well, what would you say would be a good realistic goal to hit? Because I know people, they like to dream big. So they all right, I'm making 250 this year. The gym's humming. Everything is going good. I'm going to make $1 million next year. I'm going to set a goal to make $1 million. What's a realistic goal that someone could set? So this way they set themselves up for success. Because, you read all these books, and I've done this before in the past. You read all these books, and they one that comes to mind is the 10X rule. Whenever you set a goal, you just set a goal for 10X because it's going to cost the same amount of effort to get to that 10X versus the where you want it to go. But that's not realistic. No. And then you're setting yourself up for extreme failure that way, because now you're like, okay, well, my gym is making 20. I want to make 50. And you keep saying 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. I'm going to set the goal to make 50. And then you're never getting there, or you're getting there just at the right pace. Right. And you never actualize, you just get frustrated and you want to give up. And then you're getting squirrel brain because you're looking all around because you're still not at that 50. So what's a realistic goal for people to set? What's like you're the numbers guy. So what's the percentage that people would say?
Mm-hmm. I mean, we can look at percentage growth. Now, I personally haven't found that there's a consistent percentage growth that you're going to find. Some years it's 20%, sometimes it's 30, right? Whatever it may be. But I like to look at it in terms of numbers, like actual dollars, because that's what we've kind of seen through our business. So what's realistic, and I'm a pretty hardworking guy and I'm pretty dedicated to my business and growing it. So you have to be hardworking, dedicated, and pulling all the levers that you can pull to get to this point. But somewhere in the range of 150 to 200 grand per year in growth is realistic, in my opinion. Right? That's what we've seen. Now, if you stop at 100 in growth year to year, that's pretty good. I mean, think about the life that changes for you if you add 100 grand to your business in a year, right? It covers your rent costs way easier. It puts more money in your pocket. It allows you to add another staff member while still putting money in your pocket, right? Like 100 grand is nothing to be ashamed of if you're growing 100 grand in a year, right? I just see too many gym owners that have been running their gyms for 8-9 years and they're still at 20K a month, right? It's horrible to see that. It pains me to see that, right? So 150 to 200 grand is probably pretty realistic. And we can help you get there if you don't know the plays and the structure and the process to get there, because there's a lot of steps and a lot of things that need to improve to get to that point. But yeah, I'd say 150 to 200 is probably reasonable.
And there you go, guys. There you have it. So that's the best way to do it. For me personally, I'm gonna talk about what kind of like what I do is I like to look at it on a monthly basis. I like chasing those little goals, and then it's like it's always a good bonus at the end of the year when I look at the main number and I'm like, nice. So I like to look at the monthly. So if I'm currently making whatever 60, 70, and I want to get to 80, then I just kind of do that reverse math. Okay, how am I going to get to 80 this year? What am I going to do to get to 80 per month? Blah, 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 and then go forward from there. I like to look at it like that. I like to kind of chase the squirrel, and then at the end of the year, I see my what I built up, the treasure chest, so to say. So that's the way I like to do it. But either way, it doesn't matter. But that's exactly how you guys can set those goals for the new year. And just in general, if you've never did this before, I would definitely recommend taking the time out to get this done, do this, set the goals, because if you set it and you start focusing on those numbers, like Jimmy said, good things are going to happen. Guys, click that link below. Like Jimmy was talking about, we have so many plays for you that you can run for free to help your business explode. Anthony and Jimmy, Fitness Profit Multiplier, and we are out.